Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. Today we have a very, very interesting story, and it's one of the most bizarre stories I think I've ever heard that is related to the Bigfoot topic. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank everybody who has donated so far to the Bigfoot Quest for the Wildman documentary series. I can't thank you guys enough. There's been a lot of support for that project, and I can't wait to make it a reality to get out there and actually shoot this thing and have it released on YouTube for everyone to enjoy. So thank you to everybody who's donated. If you wish to still make a donation, you can check out the link in the description to the GoFundMe page. So today's topic is very, very strange. This is the story of Zana, who was a very strange ape-like woman that was captured in Russia back in like the 1850s. Now, I don't have a specific date. All I know is it was somewhere between like 1850 and 1860. So, legend has it a group of hunters, had seen this bizarre ape-like woman roaming the woods multiple times before, they were actually able to capture her. And based on what I've, heard online in my research is that they were able to capture Zana by putting out a red jacket, and they kind of used it as bait. So she was very curious and, tried to grab this jacket and put it on, and while she was putting it on, they captured her. Very, very strange. So apparently Zana was really, really tall. She was about 6.5 feet tall, very, very strong, very fast. I've heard that she could even outrun a horse. I don't know if there's any truth to that. But she was a very, very, very robust female Bigfoot-like creature, was covered in hair, covered in like a reddish auburn hair. Now, when we look at a lot of Sasquatch reports, we do see a lot of cases where these creatures have a reddish hair, which is very interesting. She matches the description of Bigfoot very, very well. Very tall, very strong, covered in hair, had a flattened nose, a very, very pronounced brow ridge. Her face was hairless, her palms were hairless. She was very, very, very strong. Like I said, she had really broad shoulders. Apparently she had big, sharp teeth. And I even heard that she had red eyes. Now, I don't know if that is true or if that's an element thrown into the story to, make it sound a bit creepier, but we do hear a lot of reports of Bigfoot having red eyes, especially at night. There's a lot of speculation that because they're nocturnal, their eyes glow red at night. I don't know. Now, obviously, I can't confirm that because that's all anecdotal evidence, but yeah, big sloping forehead, like I said, a pronounced brow. Apparently she had big feet. I don't have any numbers to give you on that as far as like the length of the foot goes. But, an individual that's 6.5 feet tall is going to have pretty big feet. But yeah, like I said, very Bigfoot-like, almost to a T. There was nothing I could find about like having the typical Bigfoot smell that's reported, that you get that really skunky, raw meat kind of rotting smell when you're close to these things, apparently. Not in all cases, but in a lot of them, you hear that in the reports. So Zana was actually held captive by villagers for a long time. She wasn't allowed to do anything or go anywhere. And essentially the people in the village, as far as I could tell from the reports, she was essentially bullied. Like, people didn't know what she was. They were kind of scared of her. She wouldn't talk at all. Sometimes it's said that she would, suddenly start laughing in a very strange way just out of nowhere, and it would really creep people out and scare them, which, I could see myself getting creeped out about that. But eventually she was kind of let loose and was able to wander around, and she never actually ran away. She, I guess got really comfortable and stuck around. She would basically eat anything that they gave her as long as it wasn't cooked. It's also said that she would never wear clothes, ever, which I find very weird because this is, I guess, the one issue I have with the story is that when they captured her, she was trying to put on this red jacket. However, it said that she would never wear clothes, so I don't know what the deal is with the red jacket, why she was trying to put it on then, but they could, for the life of them, never get her to wear any clothes. I also heard that she was not fond of dogs. Hated dogs. Dogs weren't fond of her either. And it's kind of interesting. There are a lot of Bigfoot reports of dogs going missing, dogs getting killed. Apparently, she had actually killed dogs too, like ripped them to pieces. But you do hear a lot of stories about dogs running off and ending up dead. So that, again, is another thing that kind of lines up with a lot of Bigfoot reports. So Zana was actually moved from village to village and eventually ended up in the hands of a gentleman who, further domesticated her and actually taught her how to do, I guess, basic, like, household tasks. So she actually had that level of intelligence, where she could learn things and do things, but still, like, she wouldn't speak. She would never talk. And the craziest thing about this story, the weirdest, most bizarre thing, in my opinion, is that she had actually became pregnant at least 6 times. So she was breeding with humans, not just this guy, this nobleman, but other men as well. And it said that 4 of the children that she actually had survived. So the children, as far as what their physical appearance looked like, they were more human looking. They weren't covered in hair, but they did have strange looking faces. Like, they did have large brows and big jaws, and something looked definitely off about them. They did have a very Neanderthal look about them, which is still kind of crazy, but it would appear that the father, these human genes were more dominant over Zana's, so they were not covered in hair. They did have a little bit darker skin, and it said that Zana had kind of like a darker grayish skin underneath her red hair. These children were born. They were real people. Like, it's well documented. There's actually a photograph of her one son, whose name was Kawit. And you can see in the photo here, he does have, kind of a strange looking bone structure. And, these 4 children that she had, they actually had children, and there is still, like, descendants of her living today, and some of them are still kind of in the area where she was, existing back in the 1800s. So Zana died in, like, the very late 1800s, 1890s, and I think it was back in the 1970s, Igor Burtsev, who's a big, Bigfoot investigator over in Russia, he actually was looking for the remains of Zana, and they were able to find Kawit's remains, her son. So they have his skull, and then there was another skull that was located not too far away, which they suspect is Zana's. It's not known 100%, I believe, that is Zana's skull, but, it more than likely is. And they were actually able to do DNA testing on it. So it's crazy, like, Zana existed. She was extremely Bigfoot-like in appearance, which is crazy. She must have came from somewhere. She must have came from some group of people, a very primitive group of people that are still existing out there. Where there's one, there's got to be another. There could very well be a group of these very primitive-looking beings. So they did these DNA tests on Kawit, and also the other skull, the female skull that was found not too far away, which they think is Zana's, and it said that they're 100% sub-Saharan African. So that is interesting, but also they don't match any known, like, modern African group, which is pretty crazy. So they must have come from a group of people that, hundreds of thousands of years ago migrated up, and that was it for them, basically. Just a kind of a unique breed of human. I don't know, this whole case is very bizarre. It's one of the weirdest ones I've ever heard of. Like, I thought the strange ones were like the Ape Canyon case, the Mushalat Harry case, the Albert Osman case, but this is by far the weirdest and most convincing case because there's actual physical evidence. People always say, why isn't there any remains of Bigfoot? Why haven't there been, skulls found, any sort of bones? Well, this could be it. At least this is the closest thing that I can think of, to actual Bigfoot remains. Now, is it Bigfoot? I don't know. Could it be a long-lost cousin to humans? Possibly. Could it be the Russian Almas, the Russian Yeti? I mean, maybe this is what the Almas is. This group of people. Very, very weird. It's also worth mentioning, she is so close to human DNA. Pretty much exactly, comes out human, basically, that she can breed with humans, right? Like, you can't take a bonobo and a human and make a baby. I'm pretty sure that's impossible. and they're the closest thing, you know, that we know to human DNA. They're like nearly 99% human DNA. But whatever's on it is, you know, she was able to successfully breed with these human males and have children who basically turned out more or less human, you know, and were able to have children and, you know, generations of children. So I don't know. I would like to know what you guys think about this story. I think it's totally bizarre and weird. And I'm surprised, you know, I haven't come across this until now. Let me know what you guys think in the description below. Once again, if you would like to donate to the Bigfoot Quest for the Wildman documentary series, the link is in the description down below. We're getting a lot of support for that, and I'm very happy to have so many people behind me that want to see that thing come to life. Also, if you are interested in doing backcountry expeditions into the Nordic area, you know, that aren't Bigfoot expeditions, I'm going to stress that every time I talk about it. They're guided wilderness adventures, multi-day hikes into the mountains. I mean, it is Bigfoot territory, and of course there is a chance of seeing something, but most likely you're not going to see anything. So it's just basically a wilderness adventure out in the backcountry with myself as your guide. And I should also mention that, you know, I actually went to school for, you know, adventure tourism and learning how to be an outdoor guide. So I am qualified in that field. I've worked in the tourism industry. I worked as a river guide in Jasper National Park. I have experience. So if you guys are interested in that, you can check out my email, which is also in the description, for all your expedition inquiries. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries.